It's been only a couple weeks since my last update video, but Void keeps pumping out the content, so I will too. Void released an update on October 6th and 20th detailing some new gameplay, revamped maps, trailer units, quality of life changes, and a possible release date. I'm gonna try and keep the fluff to a minimum, but there is a ton to cover, so let's jump right on in. The farm, as mentioned in my last video, is getting a massive facelift and will be completely different from what we know it to be now. We will be getting new entries into the compound instead of having to take the tunnels exclusively. Void have stated the majority of the map will focus on being above ground and will be filled with structures and vegetation to confuse and disorient the player. Looking through these images here shows that Void is further expanding on Ready or Not's theme of realistic horror. Personally, I would not enjoy clearing this place IRL. It looks absolutely terrifying. Apparently, Port is gonna be a doozy. Grunner, one of the devs, is quoted to say, "Port is receiving an entire gameplay redesign on top of a brand new level layout and art pass. The goal of the design is to make Port one of the most difficult levels within Ready or Not." From what Void has detailed, instead of being largely indoors, Port will more so be an outdoor map, which means mid to mid-long range engagements throughout. To Grunter's point, this map looks incredibly daunting from just the photos they provided. Massive, mazed, and assuredly chaotic. As mentioned in my last video, Dealer will be getting a rework as well. From the images Void gave in the newest briefing, they will be expanding on the area around the map, as well as incorporating more environmental storytelling. Improvements for muzzle flares are getting a rework as demonstrated here. I'm digging the intermittent flashes and smoke effects that I'm seeing so far and looks super realistic. A new oxygen tank explosion animation is coming soon, which is pretty cool to see. Thank the Lord, we are getting a C2 explosion that will not drop me down to 3 FPS for a solid 2 seconds. This CS gas animation looks way better than the old one, with volumetric clouds and lighting that gives Microsoft Flight Simulator a run for its money. New vehicle models are getting added in, seemingly mostly older models with the exception of the random Honda Civic in there. And speaking of cars, they will feature new damage models, allowing for the glass, mirrors, and doors to be shot off in intense firefights. Also, new SWAT models were shown, with the Bortak skin making an appearance, which looks incredible, and a custom SWAT operator to his left, which, I mean, come on man, that's awesome. I love it. That's got Tactical Daddy written all over it. The devs have been working on making room entry and clearing as smooth as possible, and with this latest update we can see new blocking volumes that will help bolster that. Blocking volumes allow the player to go around collision objects without the need to move out of the way. Rather, the blocking volume gently pushes the player around the object instead. Void expressed in an earlier AMA that trailers would be making their way into the game, but in testing they were unable to determine if they would pan out. Void has now stated trailers will be implemented after your SWAT team's actions, carrying detained/deceased civilians or suspects, and collecting bagged evidence to take back to the Bearcat. So ultimately they will now be a modeled entity, and one that will only come after you stop the killing. Speaking of bagged evidence, collection of evidence is likely to get some big changes. Most significantly is that when a suspect AI drops their weapons, an outline can be enabled in order to more easily identify and secure them when you're nearby. This is great, as the 20-minute after party of a mission of just trying to locate all the evidence can be a real pain in the butt, so hopefully this will speed things up. Also, evidence is now being renamed to reportables and are divided into 2 types, hard and soft. Stop it, you filthy animals. Hard reportables are items that are required to finish a mission, whereas soft reportables are items that are optional and not needed in order to complete your run. Although I am assuming that those soft reportables will have an effect on your end score. Less lethal items will be changed up quite a bit, starting with the CS gas. Seems like Void is wanting to take after CS2 and make the gas cloud volumetric, and will expand realistically into rooms and through rat holes and walls. The pepperball gun has been changed up as well. The balls can now be used as an area of effect weapon. A small area around the impact of the ball will fill with powder, causing those nearby the landing site to be affected, and will last for approximately 20 to 25 seconds.
Woo! Forgot that was that pepper.
This is a much welcome change and one that I was hoping to see, so I'm glad Void got around to it. Pepper spray will no longer completely incapacitate armed suspects and will instead cause them to cover their eyes. This allows for the suspects to still fire off rounds, but will be pretty inaccurate while doing so. The player will also now be less affected by chemical agents, in that the player's screen will blur and turn red instead of sending you into a backside 680. Now, something I'd like to mention again for like the third time on this channel is that tasers need a rework. There are 4 things they need to fix. Taser probes that hit a suspect should not despawn at all until the player unequips the taser. The player should be able to reactivate the taser with the probe still in the suspect. The taser wire should not become silly string and stretch half a mile before breaking, and the taser should completely immobilize characters, sending them off into a rigid ragdoll animation rather than doing the Macarena. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. One of the last photos on the farm update on Dev Briefing 62 showed the player aiming into a building. Something to note though is the gun being used is a bullpup, which isn't something we've seen in the game so far. Given the way it looks with the rail system to the sort of blocky nature of the buttstock and the closeness of the ejection port to the top rail, my guess would be this is the Lithgow F90, which looks to be an AUG lookalike. Finally, I want to mention something that stuck with me while looking through the 60-second dev briefing. This ATAC image shows us that it may be possible to command the AI in a manner consistent with door kickers, a la 2D top-down perspective. Very cool, I dig it. But what struck me here was that the writing shows 2023. I mean, the devs stated they were hoping to release 1.0 before the end of 2023, so that makes sense, until you look at the drawing below it. That, my friends, looks exactly like the logo for the Game Awards that will premiere December 7th, 2023. So what does this mean? Are they going to be dropping the 1.0 version that same day? I don't know, man, but I know that we're getting close, and this is the most blatant hint Void has given us to a possible drop, so I'm going to say it's pretty likely. But what do y'all think? 1.0 dropping in December, or do you think it'll get delayed? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, leave a like, subscribe, and if you want, come join the Discord, link in the description down below. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, I really do appreciate it. And as always, remember our sole objectives. Stop the killing, stop the dying. I'll see y'all later.